the recording back on again with the self narrating. This is just who we are now. Welcome. It is what night is tonight? Tuesday night. Okay. It's like those, remember those ads? I don't remember if you remember these, Gina, where like it was like it's 10 o'clock. Do you remember do you know where your kids are? Like in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like it's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your webinar is? So we're here. So I'm super happy to welcome you guys. You do not have the ability to unmute, as you will see that Joe and Kelly are heckling me about in the chat. But yeah, it's like my student Zoom. So it's just kind of a tune, but we can see your faces. And obviously that to, protect disruption and all those kind of things. If you do have a question that you feel you want to phrase yourself or whatever, just put that in the chat. But we can both see the chat. So as we chat, I'm going to say chat like 7 more times, as we platicar, we can see the questions and we'll kind of address those accordingly. So you'll see that the chat is public and it's been a really fun space these last few months. Gosh, that's kind of crazy to say, to share resources, and anything that you share and that we share or whatever, I will put into the Wakelet for this chat. So all of those resources will be compiled. So if you feel like you're clicking around and things are shared and you're like, hold on, what was, and then your browser has like 42 tabs open, like it normally does, but like more hectic. Don't worry about that, because I will archive them and that'll be all in one place. So as I welcome you tonight, obviously our guest is Gina O'Neill, incredible. And she and I are gonna just kind of like chat back and forth. But again, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. And you're also obviously welcome to answer each other's questions. And the first thing that we'll start off with, I guess, is where you find yourself these days, if you don't mind sharing, and what you're teaching or supervising, or whatever your affiliation here is with world language teaching. And I'll start. As I said, my name is Hola Chela. My name is Meredith White, and I teach Spanish 1 and 2 just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And so, Gina, I'm going to pop it to you. If you'll tell us where you are. I mean, I know where you are these days, but where you are these days and what you're teaching, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Excuse me. I'm Regina O'Neill, and I teach in Baltimore, Maryland. I teach Spanish 2, 3, and AP this year.
Oof.
Yes. I'm also the chair of the World Language Department at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, again in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yay.
Very happy to be here.
So you're not busy at all with those great preps. And what's your setting right now? We've been hybrid all year with roomies and zoomies, but what's your setup? Is it
recently back into the classroom, and of course continuing with virtual? We're in a bit of a transition stage right now, and still learning the ropes on how that works, but it's going to be fine. It's all going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Keep telling myself.
Right, literally every day. I was saying I've never needed more affirmation before we came on.
Right.
I've never needed more affirmations than I do this year, and I've said this in a previous one too, but it's like that old Saturday Night Live skit where he's talking to himself in the mirror, and he's like, "You're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like that's like every day. I'm like, you're a good teacher. You're doing fine. You're doing great. You're putting pants on. Like that. These are the things that I'm like encouraging myself with these days. You're doing fine. They can just do another 30 minutes of Gimkit and Quizlet Live. They don't mind, like, whatever, right? Yeah, we're doing the best we can.
Right.
Yay. Well, when you propose the topic of incorporating Black culture into world language instruction, what do you think? When your thought process starts around like kind of that, where do you start from? Like, what questions do you get from people, or what do you see happening? I don't know, that makes you want to give people more information on your topic.
I would say when I first started out, it was the lack of the topic itself, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that I do with my class, and I definitely have to shout out former student Erin Fink and my colleague Giovanni Markland, because she was actually the first one to start using the Student Bill of Rights. I know it, Mama.
I love her.
Yes, she started using the Student Bill of Rights in her classroom. And so I took it, I ran with it. And one of the rights is students have the right to see themselves represented in their curriculum.
Mm,
And I am a Black teacher. I teach at a predominantly Black school. Most schools in Baltimore City are predominantly Black. I thought it very important that my kids see a reflection of themselves in my curriculum
mm,
in Spanish classroom, you know.
absolutely.
Too many times we get caught up with thinking, um, and I mean we as in generally speaking, that Spanish language culture, the whole concept is pretty much condensed to either Spain or Mexico,
Mm,
not really understanding that there is a whole breadth of culture and richness and history that is one in existence and deserves to be explored and celebrated.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and you made me think too about, we see things as we are, of course, not necessarily as they are. And it makes me think of even just French. It's like what 85% of the continent of Africa speaks French, and yet you see highly France centered, curricula or those kind of things. And obviously same thing with Spanish. I mean, we don't talk about the, different aspects of the diaspora that have taken, different groups of people to different places. Is there something that I don't know how to word that? I don't really the question hasn't articulated itself yet in my mind, but what do you see as sort of the most common misstep isn't the word, or maybe I don't know if offense is the word. Like, what do you see people doing where they might be kind of trying to make their materials and curriculum more representative, but still miss the mark? I don't know if that makes sense, but um, yeah, I guess that's what I mean.
I
Or
don't,
what
I,
question you get asked sometimes.
I don't know if I would say colleagues are missing the mark. I
Mm,
really can't speak to that.
sure.
What I can say, things that I wanted to do to increase my mark, for lack of a better term, was to incorporate Black American culture
Mm,
into the curriculum because that is still valid, important, and really helpful, especially when you're trying to make cross curricular or cross discipline connections.
mm,
Does that
absolutely.
make sense? For
Yeah, for sure.
example, so if the kids are studying Romancero Gitano, right, by Lorca, they can also study Langston Hughes and his interpretation, his translations of Romancero Gitano, considering that at least in my high school, kids are studying Hughes in their English classes. And
Mm,
so that they can analyze and evaluate how Hughes interprets this poem to how they personally interpret the poem.
ooh, absolutely.
That's just one example.
Great.
Mhm.
Well, and then I wonder too, and I think this might be a completely weird question, but my immediate instinct is to ask, like, do you feel like, or have you experienced any critics who would say, I think, not justifiably, but who would say, like, but Langston Hughes isn't target culture, or you know what I mean? Like, what it isn't like that's those are works in English, and we shouldn't be comparing like English works. I I don't know why they would think that, because to me that comparison makes sense. But do you ever, I don't know, encounter other teachers who have difficulty with that, or who can't see that connection, like that example that you just gave?
No, I don't think I've ever experienced that before.
Right.
But if I were to play devil's advocate, I think that what we do in the classroom, right? Ultimately, well, my goal is to be able to articulate life, the universe, and everything
Mm,
in their second language, no? And doesn't that include um, discussions and appreciations of all sorts of different things, not just every, you see what I'm saying? And if the discussion and the analysis is in the target language, where's the problem?
right, right. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm picturing a couple of colleagues who I think
Maybe,
would say,
maybe.
who I could just see being like, but and it's like, really? Like, is this?
And that's
Yeah,
fine. I mean, that's fine, you know?
yeah, yeah, I suppose so. Where can we, so where do we start if someone says that they want to, they want to find resources, or they just want more examples of that beautiful one that you just made with Langston Hughes?
Mhm.
Are there examples of like people who are already kind of doing this, I know we share a lot on Twitter and Lang Chat and
Mhm.
conference sessions and all those kind of things, but if somebody just has no idea how to make their curriculum more rich and more inclusive, what would you suggest?
I would honestly suggest doing the same things that all of us do anyway. Tons and tons of research,
Totally.
making connections with other teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Giving voice to biopic teachers,
Mm,
especially Black teachers, man. You know, talking to colleagues, inviting them to come to talk to your classes,
mm,
and that constant research is what I've absolutely been doing. So if I am required to expose the kids to Peru,
mhm,
why not teach them, about Susanna Baca and give them taste of her music and a little bit of her history? You
mm,
know, why not introduce them to Victoria Santa Cruz and give them a taste of her poetry? You know, and
absolutely.
so there isn't any aspect of anything that we do that doesn't lend itself honestly to Black culture,
Mm,
in
man.
my opinion anyhow.
Absolutely. What do you think stops people, or do you think sometimes the not the I don't want to say not wanting to research, but so many things that are the right thing. Maybe this is an unpopular statement, but I'll say it anyway.
Mhm,
So many things that are the right thing to do for kids, I think
mhm.
to many teachers sound like more work. And so I think sometimes people get strayed, they stray off of like, well, yeah, but, and they kind of, big butts get in the way is what I always say. Like we have these big butts, but now I'm going to have to, but we have to do this by this time. And if I add in blah, 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 do you think some of that is not a resistance, but like a passive resistance or a reason why people they don't know enough about something and so they don't want to
Possibly.
have to look into it?
Well, that depends. I mean, teachers are not different from students.
Right.
I mean,
Amen.
it all boils down to want to. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Mm,
the teacher will do what they want to do.
right.
I think another hindrance could be I'm not sure where to get started. So they would need support and encouragement
Mm,
and, exposure to, great talks like these
yeah.
and, making connections with other colleagues. So once you have the want to down, I think everything else is easy.
Mm. Well, Kelly just mentioned in the chat too, like even thinking something as simple as, yeah, searching like a black singer from Uruguay or very
Exactly.
like being super,
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely a great
Hmm.
idea. And kind of, it is going to be more work, and it is going to be like you're going to have to learn about some other people, which is the point, right? Stacey Margarita Johnson said several weeks ago when she was on that, we market languages sometimes so many ways. We say you're going to be able to travel, you're going to be able to it looks good on your resume, and you're
Hmm.
going to college and da 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 da, and it helps with our defense as a country. And some of those things are really kind of problematic statements if that's the only value we give language to. She ended up
Hmm.
saying, sometimes you just say languages and acquiring languages and cultures and all those things help us just love better.
I
And that's
agree.
what I
I
think of
agree.
when you think about like including a richer repertoire of people and resources and places and things like that. How could that be bad? Who
And
wouldn't
I honestly
win?
believe that doing it this way broadens the perspective of the student so that they understand and they have a clearer vision of what the world honestly looks like.
Hmm.
If you ask a lot of folks, what does a Spanish person, or that's the
Right.
some people say that, other people say Spanish speaking
Mhm.
person. Goodness, what does a Spanish speaking person look like? And you'd be surprised
Absolutely.
with the same type of monolithic image that you would get. And so I think adding a necessary diversity to your curriculum really widens the perspective of students, right? So that they can have a better picture of what does planet Earth look like,
Mm,
honestly? And how can I make better communications with other humans?
mm,
How can I understand and appreciate other people's culture and learn more of my own? You know?
absolutely. Man, and now too, like in the era of Zoom, like here you are in Maryland. you're in Baltimore, I'm in Atlanta. Like we've got, Ohio, Tennessee, like I'm Connecticut, like I can literally see the people, New York City, whatever.
Shout out Ohio.
What? Whoop, whoop. He's like, hey, um, he, what reason would you have now to not bring in a guest speaker or to not,
Right.
talk about whatever? Because I have found this year that even, I mean, obviously those are people, but like even authentic resources, if you found something, I mean, we've all brought garbage home from travels, right? Where you've got like half the little carry-on is like yogurt cups and soda cans, and you're like, I will unwrap these receipts when I get home or whatever. We don't even have to do that anymore. We've got high quality PDFs, beautiful pictures, like everything saved wherever to a
Right.
large degree. And so that's upped our access to authentic resources that are more representative. But now with Zoom and all those kind of things, what reasons do we have to not be connecting with all
Hmm.
sorts of different people who speak, our target languages? And I mean, exposing students to authentic resources, or we spoke recently in Spanish too about being being like Asian Latinx and all
Hmm.
these sort of, which is a population of my school that really doesn't get heard from often, but is 100% there. And for being an incredibly diverse school, we still miss, pieces a lot of the time. And so even little things like that, I mean, it's not a difficult task or a wieldy task to even compile some resources, think of some, in the target language or otherwise, and then send them off to students. You'd be hard pressed to find a reason not to, I guess,
Right.
these days.
And it's important. It's
Hmm.
interesting that you mentioned Asian Latinx, because that's the next thing that I'm working on. That's
Hmm.
definitely the next thing that I'm working
Yeah,
on. Because my ultimate goal is to have absolutely everybody represented in my curriculum.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, and not, I think also the thing that a lot of people do is they say, like they think it's only representation for the group that they're trying to represent. Like, oh, my Black students will really appreciate or see blah blah blah, which is
Hmm.
teacher centering, and the other students are going to gain from this too. This isn't just
Agreed.
like a
Agreed.
nod to part of the class, like, see what I did there. No, like this should
But
just
and
be
I also think it's very important for the kids who are not Black to learn about
absolutely,
Black excellence all over the world. They
absolutely.
need to know too. They need to celebrate too.
Yeah, absolutely. It just, yeah, exactly. Like just as important. I think I think it's really easy to go, oh, okay, I'll do this for these students and this for these students and this for these students, but it's
Right.
all for all of them. Like we can't, in trying to not do the thing, you're doing the thing. Like by putting people in these boxes and going, well, I think this will benefit them and they'll like it. It's like you said, it's the whole group
Hmm.
that.
And it also lends itself to kids analyzing their own thought processes.
Mm,
I had a picture of Nancy Morejon. I'm going to talk about her later, but one of the poems that I teach is called Chiriboga.
mm,
And what it is, it's actually an ode from a Black woman to her own hair,
wow.
right? And it's one of the prettiest things I have ever heard, and it's extraordinarily empowering for especially for my girls to say this. So we
Absolutely.
study the poem, and we analyze, we discuss, and we also recite it. So watching them recite it as though they are Nancy themselves
Mm,
is breathtaking, because I have number of students who tell me, Profe, this is the first time I've ever spoke life into myself. This
ooh,
is the first time I've ever spoken love into myself.
mm,
And for a lot of my students who are not Black, this is the first time I've ever admitted that there is a beauty that doesn't look like me or my mother. There is a beauty that exists that doesn't reflect me, in which I am not the standard. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And that is absolutely important. I went to high school in West Virginia, and they are not shy
Mhm,
about their prejudice down there.
mhm,
And I remember going to college and meeting up with one of my white schoolmates, and he told me we couldn't we could not interact or talk with Black folks, and I think it'd be social suicide for a white boy to admit that a Black girl was pretty.
Mm.
And I don't want anyone who comes through me to feel this way ever. Oh, so the poem that I mentioned, I don't know if it's in the chat because my my skills are failing right now, but it's called Chiri Boga.
Well, perfect. It was the right one. Okay, good. Phew.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Mujer Negra is another one. It's a
Mm.
very dope poem. I love it so much. And if you don't mind, I mean, wait for what, bro?
Yes.
If you don't mind, aquí estamos. So I did want to start with shouting out this gentleman, Stephen Williams. Okay, you can find him on YouTube and Instagram at American Boy. I am really impressed with him. I love his videos and I do use them with my classes because it's important for my kids to see this handsome American boy, brilliant American boy, right? Who is fluent in a second language.
Mm.
And because I want them to see themselves in this young man. I want them to internalize, I can do this. This is my destiny too. You know, it's not just for this student over here. It's not just for that student over there. This is for me too.
Mm.
And he does an excellent job in his videos. I love his videos. So please check him out. When it comes to poets, these are my go-tos. These are some of my go-tos, okay? Nancy Morejon is from Cuba, and I mentioned one of her poems. Another participant mentioned Mujer Negra. I use both of those frequently in my class. Victoria Santa Cruz, I use Me Gritaron Negra. And it's very interesting because I'll post a big picture of her. And the first question I ask is, who is this lady? Who do you think she is? Who could she be? And they'll say, I don't know, your third grade teacher. I don't know, the lady down the street, you know? And I say, she's my Aunt Vicky from Virginia, you know? And then we talk about, actually, she is Afro-Latina, and there are Black folks all over this planet. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it, you know? And that's how I introduce her to my students. Nicolas Guillen, he's one of my favorites also. That Balada de los Dos Abuelos really did affect me personally because Guillen looks like me. His story is like my story. And I don't know, I just feel him in my bones. I love using his stuff. Leopold Sedar Senghor, he is from Senegal, and he was a politician and an incredible poet. He wrote a poem called Mujer Negra. I'm going to mess it up because he wrote it in French and it was translated by a Cuban scholar into Spanish. So I'm not even going to attempt to say it in French, but it celebrates not just the Black woman, but specifically the dark-skinned Black woman, right? And her beauty is equated with divinity. And it's a beautiful, I know, Mama, it's a beautiful poem. And now that Beyonce came out with Black is King and her song Brown Skin Girl, we can do beautiful comparisons with that, you know? No one has come to rescue me from her. These are two other poets I like to use. Virginia Brindis Salas, I use one of her poems. It is Semblaza. It's a fantastic piece. And Miss Melanie Taylor, who is Panamanian. And I got the courage to reach out to her. I'm on this new thing. If I know that I can reach out to the artist, I do my best to reach out to them, to let them know how honored and impressed I am by their presence, their existence, their work, and to let them know that I would like to introduce them and their work to my students. So you can find her on
Oh, wow.
Instagram and Twitter as well.
Mm.
These are my musicians that I share. Susana Baca is very, very mellow, very soulful, beautiful, um, really puts you in a very relaxed mood. The melodies are fantastic. And I like to use them, especially in my periods where the students are coming in after either physical education or lunch, because it kind of just sets a very chill mood. It's magnificent. Wika, she's a flamenco singer, and I've been teaching her music for years. Choquip Town from Colombia is one of my favorites, and all of the kids are very, very excited about Zach, who is from Panama.
I love Chocolate Town. Love
So
Chocolate Town.
just to show you a little bit of how, what I do with the art. What do I do with the art? This piece right here is from Leandro Monbio. He is from Equatorial Guinea, and I selected this piece from him. And so what we do, and you can do this in levels 2, 3, all the way up to AP, but you can start this at level 2, you know? The kids just have to be built up to it. Lots and lots of CI, right? And lots of repetition and practice. So they'll make the general observation. What exactly do I think of this? Do I like it? Do I not? I'm not sure. They'll name the parts. I think I see 1, 2, 3 people, but how many faces do I really see? If they know the title, they'll say the title. If not, or I keep it hidden from them, they'll invent a title based off of what they see.
Mm.
Then they discuss the interrelations. In other words, how are the parts related? Maybe this is a family, maybe they're all friends, or it's just, you know, kind of like a group shot or something.
Mm.
Finally, they'll make a conclusion, which is, what could the message be from the painter? Do I like it? Why or why not?
That is so easy to remember too. I love that of optic. That's
Mhm.
really helpful.
This is another painter, and I reached out to him too. He's from Panama. His name is Luis Cordova. You can find him on Facebook. His his work is stunning, absolutely stunning. This is my intro to SEC for the students, and then, you know, we focus a lot on cognates, and I have them read aloud. We practice pronunciation, the whole 9 yards, and it's a really good chance for the kids to practice their numbers. That way they're not stuck saying 1993, you know.
Every time. Every
At
time.
least I said, at least give me 1993.
Thank you.
Give me that at
Literally
least.
anything, the whole thing in the language, and then they're like, blah, 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 dos milking, 2015 in English.
Right? Absolutely.
Make it
Absolutely.
an effort to make just it's God, yes. That is my soapbox this year for some random reason. Is I'm like, dude, you have the internet in front of you, and I'm not
Poco a
asking you
poco,
to turn
poco a poco.
right.
So
Just
they just have to get used to it. They just have to get used to it.
okay.
So this year I actually started doing reseñas de música.
Mm.
My son is really big into writing musical reviews. And I said, what if my students were to write one? What if, you know? So I tested it out, and so far so good. I really like how it's been going. So what we do is we'll listen to a selection from the artist together, you know, and then we'll talk about the details of the song. And then we'll do our best to incorporate the Super 7 up in there.
Mm. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, I know. Perdón, that happens. And I like the sound of his voice. So afterwards, we'll sit and we'll talk about their opinion of the song, and then what jumped out about them. What did they notice? What were they feeling about either the song or the genre or the video or whatever?
Mm.
Mhm.
Alicia had asked in the chat, do you listen to one song by the same artist or maybe a few? Is there any kind of way you organize like how you incorporate different artists?
So it's interesting. The way I've been doing it this year, I've been moving from country to country,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
And so when I was in Panama, I listened to that song Relación de Sech. And so we do the reseña together in the classroom. We break up into the smaller groups. We knock it out together, right? And then they go off and find another selection from the same artist,
Mm.
right? And they write their own reseña.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'd be fun too, because I'm thinking now you've got me thinking that'd be a great way to compile like videos and lyric videos or whatever from the same artist, and then you've almost got like a YouTube playlist is now like a
Absolutely.
choice board.
Absolutely.
We make a unit playlist already for different things that we see, whatever we explored during that unit, but just to do a music one.
And the just to have them exposed, the
Yeah.
exposure what matters to me. So I recently played, what did I play? I played something from Wicca. Now they haven't heard, I haven't, we haven't studied Wicca since October. And I said, somebody tell me who's in the background. Somebody tell
Mm.
me. And then finally, 5 kids, oh, this is Wicca. And I said, yes, it's stuck. I was so happy. Now, somebody tell me the genre of music it is. So it
Mm.
makes me happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and for me, sometimes finding, this is going to sound like I'm going to age myself here, but sometimes finding some of those resources and, looking up different artists and kind of, like you said, research, like you're looking up
Hmm.
different things also feels a little bit like I feel a little bit more relevant because left to my own devices, I'm just going to keep playing the stuff I've been playing for 14 years. Like
Right.
we're just going to keep Mana on rotation. One
Oh,
is going to pop in there, like just
I have a thing for Mana. I
oh,
do. I'm
it's
not gonna lie.
insane. Plastic surgery or not, Ferris
But
is
you
playing.
know who it was for me? It was Camila. Camila.
Yes, love.
I'm like, why can't they make it work and get back together?
Just get back
It's,
together. We don't
it's
ask
all,
for much.
it's like Drew Hill. That's how I feel about Drew Hill. Can you guys just work it out? Come
Guys,
on.
come on. We beg of you. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, left to my own device, I think we get comfortable. So I maybe I say left to my own devices, but I think a lot of us, especially like you've got multiple preps this year,
Yeah.
just like all of the things that were hard enhanced, but like under normal circumstances, I think again the things that matter sometimes feel like more work to people when obviously the pros outweigh the cons, and our job is supposed to be work. That's why it's a job. But like we know we need to do better, but getting to where you're doing better, and like you said, you want to, like, it matters. If it matters enough, you do it. That's
It boils down to that. It simply boils down to absolute want to, and I understand that teaching is just like every other profession. You're going to have folks who are here for their check and they're going to do just enough to get by. It's kind of like the students, right?
one.
Then you're going to have the people who are, I don't want to say overachievers, but people who really believe they were born to do this.
Mm,
And me personally, I am a perpetual student. All I do is study from other people. And
yeah.
I thought that I saw AC Quintero on here. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
she sure is.
He is?
Yes.
Okay, so I have another anecdote because I follow her. I've been following her for a while, and I can't even remember what it was, but she did this interview um, with some gentleman from Spain. Anyway, she knocked me out. She knocked me out. And she was my reflection to me. You
Mm,
know what I mean? She got me so inspired, so hyped that I said, this is the next thing that I have to do. I
mm.
have to do this. And when I say I took notes on what this lady was saying, anything that I did not recognize, that I was like, oh, what is she talking about? Yes, furiously jotting it down. Push pause, push pause. And I was so inspired. I was inspired by that. She lit my fire.
Absolutely.
Hold on, because it gets better. Then I went to Actful, right? I went to Actful and I was in the room with, there's a subcommittee.
Mm,
I know I'm saying it wrong, and forgive me. It's student or teachers of African American students.
mm,
You know what I'm talking about?
mm.
Bottom line is, it was a room full of Black language teachers, and I've never been in one before. And when I say that the hair was standing up and I feel a trill in my voice,
Mm,
that's what happened to me.
mm.
That's what happened to me. And Dr. Krishana was there, right? And Jennifer
Wow.
Saldana White was there. And I'm looking around like, where have y'all been my whole life?
Right. Right.
And it just it fed
Mm.
me. It fed my soul. And I don't know, it all of, the planets seemed to align, and I knew that I had no choice. I had absolutely no, I gotta keep going, keep pushing, because I'm watching the amazing things that my colleagues are doing. Yes, ma'am, it matters. Yes, ma'am, it matters.
Mhm.
And I don't want to, I felt alone for a minute. You know what I mean? Because yes, I've got colleagues. Yes, of course, I have amazing, wonderful colleagues. But like when I see you, I see me, because I see a girl that was meant to do this. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yep. Well, absolutely. And I think exactly like you said, like my colleague Adrian, who was I think our second or third, she was really early in the series.
Mhm.
She and I, God, I hope she wouldn't mind me saying that. I'm gonna say it anyway. If she can forgive me later. But she and I were talking at the beginning of the year, and she said, I was like, man, like there, this is gonna sound really crass, but there are still some people who we work with who are still sit down and shut up people. Like, how are you still a sit down, shut up packet person and they are online? Like how have you somehow taken really not great really bad practices and brought them to the Zoom sphere? Like, I don't know how you did that. And she said, you know what, workers are going to work, lazies are going to laze.
And
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 that
she
has
and
stuck
she is
with me.
not lying.
Right.
And
And
she
like
is not
that
lying.
glued into my brain, and literally all year I've been like, here we are. The people who already thought they weren't doing enough are doing more and still don't think they're doing enough. And the
Yeah.
people who are like, meh, whatever, are still meh, whatever. And you know, a little bit of that's healthy because we have to keep some boundaries, but worker's gonna work, lazy's gonna laze. And that's it. And I think you're right. I think people are gonna do what they naturally do. And that so connecting is that is that powerful piece. Ebony Thornton has said the same thing when she started
Yes,
hashtagging like
yes.
WL teachers or whatever.
She's the one who came up with that.
She's
And
like, where you been? Like, wait a minute, how
big shouts out to her.
incredible.
Big love to her, because she's the one
Yeah.
who started that hashtag. That's right. I follow her too.
Yeah,
That's right.
she's incredible. She works with me. I was so lucky. She's awesome. And yeah, she was like, wait a minute. How did I not like
Right.
why are we not collaborating? You know, we
Right.
being, she kind of in reference to these other people, like, where's everybody been? You know, so
Right.
finding a group you connect with, I think, beyond just like the level you teach or like where you are geographically. There are so many levels that we can connect with each other
Right.
on, which I think
Right.
is super important. Man.
Right. I connected with Kia London, who's
Mm,
also one of my favorites. I
yeah.
had I had her come in to speak to my students because I
Mm,
wanted my students to see her beautiful face
oh,
and see their face in her face
totally.
and understand, honeys, if you set your mind and your heart to anything, you can achieve
Mm,
anything.
yeah.
Anything,
And
you
language is
know?
for you. This is for you. Like,
Right.
I think that's the message we send to a lot of our Black and Brown students, especially as, and we've spoken very honestly in this whole series. There are there are still so many people who want their upper levels to look a certain way, and so it's like, ooh, I don't know if Regina, I don't know
Right.
if level 3 is
Right.
for you. Alan, I don't know if level 4 is really for you. And so they're doing these different elitist paths with their
Right.
programs, with their travel, with
Right.
their curriculum, with all these different, with their professional development, with
Right.
all of these different things where students are seeing fewer and fewer, if any, people who look like them. Why would you think upper level language or traveling to France or whatever, not even travel, helping someone in your community in another language or just connecting with your neighbors? Why would you think any of that's for you if you've never seen anybody do it who looks like
Right. Right. And there's too many people in power who are very comfortable with their prejudice,
you?
or they still
Mm,
suffer from their implicit bias.
wow, that's powerful. That's it
Yeah.
right there. They are 100% comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Which is why the work is so important, and we just have to be out there doing the best that we possibly can, inspiring and, transferring our love and passion of the world
Mm.
the kids.
Wow. How do we get beyond just the representation piece? You know, we've talked about it kind of incorporating obviously joyful stories, and
Right.
not just, oh, okay, you know, I'll incorporate some representative things. Let's talk about, and then only like negative historical, you know, thing like events or periods or whatever. How do we go beyond just representation and really do meaningful representative work with our students?
Honestly, I think because you mentioned something just now about focusing on, excuse me, tragedies,
Yeah,
which people tend to get caught up in doing. Well, if I have to teach about Black people stuff, I guess I'm going to have to teach about the saddest, most miserable stuff imaginable.
right.
And that is exhausting, annoying, and offensive. So,
Yeah.
where does it begin? It begins with the teacher taking an honest look at themselves and saying, well, first of all, how do I see Black folks, period?
Mm,
And how much work do I have to do on myself?
yeah.
And how am I studying, researching, questioning? How am I interacting with my colleagues, right?
Mm.
And do I even want to? Because I might not be the one for the job. And that's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I might, you know, if again, if I'm comfortable enough in my own reticence, prejudice, whatever is stopping me, then yeah,
Right, right.
maybe this isn't for me or whatever.
And
Wow.
then and but if you are into doing the work, always bounce things off of your colleagues because you really don't want to get caught up with everything I find
Mm,
happens to be miserable. You know
right.
what I mean? We are a heck of a lot more than our miseries. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
ooh, that's a
A lot more than our miseries. And
mm,
it's offensive and resentful when that's where the focus stays and dies.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. What do we do when, you know, when we have made, this has come up before too with Kia. We were talking about, she had was talking about the, and I'm going to do this right this time, I promised her. Language learner literature advisory board. I always mix the three L's and then all of a sudden I got six L's.
okay.
She was talking to us about the board and evaluating different materials for harmful components, such as,
Yeah.
you know, gender tropes, racial tropes, all those kind of
Mhm.
things. And you know, what teachers do when you read something with fresh eyes, or you look at something with fresh eyes and you go, wow, this is problematic. Um, and maybe it's something, this is not an excuse but just a reason that some people have cited, like, now, you know, I feel like I'm in a conundrum because maybe this particular whatever resource or you know, unit that I bought or novel or whatever it is has these messages that I wasn't really seeing before, but some colleagues have been honest, or I've seen some conversations happen, but I bought it with my own money. Now I have to change like an entire unit, you know, whatever. Those are real, again, like not excuses, but like reasons that people feel kind of
Like they
confused
gotta, like
about.
they have to stay with what they've been doing. I
Right.
would say, I would say, so imagine your audience or your students look
Yeah.
like the kids in the book.
Right.
And with the same energy, by all means, go ahead and teach it. Because
Mm,
I've had to really check myself, and I continue to check myself
yeah.
to make sure that I am um, presenting material with the utmost respect,
Mm.
especially when the culture is not mine,
Ooh,
especially when the culture is not mine and is the culture of my students. Does this make sense?
man. Yeah. 100%.
Right. So, and it's important to me because I remember we were talking about racism in Mexico,
Mm.
right? And a number of my students are Native and heritage speakers, right? Specific, they're either from Mexico or their folks are from Mexico, and some of my students were under the impression that there is no racism in Mexico and that sort of thing doesn't happen, and nobody thinks anything bad over anyone else. And so, I mean, that's not a foreign concept,
Right.
especially from a child. You
Right.
know what I mean? So we talk about um, images that they have in certain different aspects of culture. We talk about, the advertisements for snacks and drinks.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, cartoons like Memin Pinguin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we talk about, harmful shows like there was a children's show called Viva los Niños, right? And it was set in Mexico City. And the concept was a third grade classroom, and one of the little boys was Black. His name was Angel, and he was bullied and harassed because he was Black.
Mm.
And I think what bothered me the absolute most is that nobody would say that he was being picked on because he was Black. Nobody would admit that this is, harmful, ridiculous racism happening to this young man. Nobody would say it.
Mm.
The actors, producers, nobody. And I tried to tell my students, how do you think Black students or Black children would respond to this kind of thing? Could you defend it with the same vigor
Mm.
without feeling funny, maybe? Without, covering your head in shame or anything like that?
Mm.
Or does this give you pause and like, okay, let's talk about it?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. And if
And,
you don't feel a little shame, again, maybe this isn't for you.
and yeah, and it really is an opportunity for everyone to sit there and just challenge all of your stuff in a space where nobody is going to beat up anybody. We're all here to learn together. You know what I mean? But the most important thing is we're here to grow together, challenge some of the things that might not be so accurate or healthy, and to do better. And
Mm.
not just that, tell your mother what I said, tell your father,
Mm.
share everyone. And don't take my word for it. Here are some resources, go find out on your own.
Man. Well, and there's a degree of trust and vulnerability too in that, especially with
Right,
colleagues that you work closely with. If you are not a singleton, or you've whatever the network of people that you work with is, if they're near or far at a different school, whatever, to also be able to go, yeah, Meredith, I don't think that's what you want to use for that, and be able to kind of call each other out in to the side, like whatever preposition we're using, but to be able to go, is that the way you want to portray that? Because
right.
when you can have
Or
those conversations, yeah, then you're like, really? Tell
and
me.
I want you to give the same talk to 25 kids who looks just like that kid,
Mm,
and try not to grimace,
right, right. Oof.
right?
Hmm.
So if that does give you pause, then we have some changing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should be, if it's been 1 year, 2 years, 22 years, whatever, we should be revamping our things each year to a degree already. And so why not look at it from that additional lens, as well as sort of the other teacher lenses we have, did they like this? Did it help them learn? But
Right,
also then that
right,
piece of representation, whose stories are we telling? Whose stories
right.
are we ignoring or excluding? And who's who's telling whose stories? I mean, it kind of unwraps itself into a lot of different layers that I think are really, really important to explore. Absolutely. Irregularly. I think some people think it's like, phew, okay, did that. I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for the whole year now. And it's like, no, 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 keep doing, keep
Right.
thinking about that.
It goes back to the want to. It
Yeah.
goes back to the want to, I am going to be learning for the rest of my life, God willing, you
Mm,
know.
man.
So, and right before you and I started talking, I saw a video by Dr. Bobby Vaughn, who is an amazing researcher. He actually is one of the leading researchers on the Africana peoples in
Mm,
Mexico,
cool.
Afro Mexico. And I just reached out to him. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll hit me back because
Ooh,
I get so excited
yes.
when things like that happen. When I reach out to someone and I'm like, please,
I beg of you. Right.
friend. Yeah. Yes,
I
yes.
felt how I felt. Reach out to you. I was like, please, 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 Regina, please, please say it, please. I beg of you.
I just want to read your dissertation and talk about research. Yes.
Can we nerd out for like an hour? Is that okay? That's so funny. Yeah, no, I'm gonna pop the video that came up when I just searched him was one on, I believe, hold on, let me go back up. Talking diaspora, doing ethnographic
Yes,
work.
yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes. Put that in there. Put that in there,
done.
you
That's
know.
awesome.
And he mentions his website, which I believe is afromexico.org.
Cool.
And I just love the stuff that he's doing. And I know that one of our Twitter colleagues just got a Fulbright to go
Yes,
to Oaxaca.
LJ. Yes.
And I cannot wait to read that gentleman's stuff and to incorporate. I can't wait because I feel like whatever he learns, he's going to share with the
Mhm.
rest of us.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful for that because I can't get to Oaxaca right now. So I'm grateful. And I'm happy that he's doing it. And I'm telling all of my students that he's doing it. And I want them to see his face because I want them to see themselves as amazing linguist researchers who
Yes.
can travel the world too.
Right.
And that they're meant to do this too,
Right.
you know?
Well, and again, it's for you.
Right.
We
Right.
there are
It's
so
just
many
that
things we tell people.
for years, people have been made to feel like it's not.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I was reading some research a couple of months ago, and the what the body of research ended up showing was that everyone in this particular study could, couple of things, could recall, um it was on like shame at school, and they could recall a very like lowercase t traumatic moment of shame at school from a teacher. And then
Mhm.
from the 100% who reported like yes that happened, and they could recall it like it was yesterday, it was
Mhm.
like I was in the da da da, and then this teacher said, like, "Psh, what do whatever.
Yeah.
Of those 100%, 85% of those experiences were in creative, artistic, expressive spaces. So it
Mhm.
was, playing sport, doing something with your body or your voice or your talents or whatever. It was language, art, music, sports, all those kind of things. Not an information like I didn't know enough chemistry, or I didn't know the element for nitrogen. I mean, it's N, but
Right.
like for iron or whatever. And I felt really embarrassed. They were all creative expression. And I think that ties to a lot of times directly to what we do and who we decide is successful at what we do by the materials we choose, by the stories we tell, by the way we obviously react and the opportunities we give. I mean, this
Mhm.
year I've had more student retakes than ever, and it's because it's more accessible. I wasn't
Me
on
too.
purpose being
Me
like,
too.
"Oh, sorry, Joe, sorry, Al, like you can't come in, retake your 70 because like I can't stay after on Wednesday, but that's the only day you can get a ride." Da, da, da. Now that it's electronic, they're like, it's like a video game. They're suddenly
Right.
like, "Dang, a 90, let me retake that. I can get those two questions right." And
Mhm.
you're like, "Okay," because there's no planning involved. So students are like showing more efficacy in a lot of ways. And I think again, like that's going to be a choice. It was probably a choice before, but now it's a choice. What are you making accessible to your students? And absolutely incorporating joyful, powerful, magical Black culture is a huge piece of
Right. Right.
that. I
Right.
mean, it
Right.
has to be.
And doing it by way of acquiring and moving towards proficiency in your second language.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not assuming, I think, that any approach or like so-called methodology is going to be more what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of aware or awakened or whatever than another. I know sometimes we'll make the argument of like, oh, well, I teach really comprehensively. I teach with CI, I do movie talks. I am automatically more, whatever, like aware of the things. And it's like, no, you can 100% be pushing completely colonized ideas via a movie talk or, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. 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 That's like saying um native speakers who are teachers are
Right.
so much better than teachers who are teaching in their second language. Not necessarily.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think cutting down some of those, what is that called when you say like, boot, it's not dichotomy, but maybe anyway, like those statements that we make that's just black and white. And it's like, no, it's this or this. Like, no way. Yeah,
I,
Alicia, same. I couldn't teach English either.
but all you can do is the best that you absolutely can. You know what I mean? And really try to cultivate that want to, and find other like-minded
Mm,
people, like-minded hearts,
mm,
and have them encourage you and you encourage them back,
yeah,
and just keep constantly striving,
yeah.
you know?
And some people that'll keep you straight, that'll be honest with you. I think
Absolutely.
that's what
Because
nice is.
people will stand in line to blow smoke,
Right, absolutely. And it's free.
and
Like,
yes, and
like,
I am forever grateful to my friends and colleagues who will say,
don't do
get
like
yourself all the way together.
that. Get
This is not
it
happening.
together.
Yes, yes,
Your best work. Sorry.
right, right.
Absolutely. And it's one thing to give a project that sucks, or where you're like, this rubric kind of whatever. It's
Hmm.
another thing to push forth harmful, problematic ideas
Right.
that, all the so it's like also this spectrum of like having people who can call you out, like obviously on like, dang, Alan, 40 question quiz right before spring break. You're up, not, stop, like, damn.
Yeah,
There's that, and then there's okay, this wording here is a problem, and
right,
I don't think this aligns with like who you are. Oh my god, I overlooked it, or
right,
that kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
man, Regina, thank you so much. I don't even, oh, like, I don't even know where you always give me so much to think about. Your ACTFL session, was it last year? When was it where they were like, it was
It was the year before last. It was right before the pandemic. I think it
okay,
was
oh, that's
2019.
right.
It was DC. It was
Yeah,
DC.
DC. Okay. In my mind, don't tell ACTFL. In my mind, that's the last ACTFL. I forgot. I'm
Mine too.
like, no, that
No,
was
no,
last week.
mine too.
Yeah. Here we go, San Diego. Yeah, I just remember it was like standing room only. There were like and
Yeah.
it was like late. Like, oh yeah. So
Yeah, I remember because my heart was beating out of my chest. I had nerve problems so bad. I
always.
remember the sweet gentleman who was standing next to me. He was assigned to me. He was helping me with the mics.
Mm.
He was old enough to be my dad. He said, "Girl, are you all right?" I said, "Would you give me a drink or something?" And he was like, "You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine." I said, "Lord have mercy. They keep coming. Oh
Right.
my God. Oh, they
I
had a
remember it was packed. There were so many people in there.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, it took me a minute. It took me a
right?
minute. It did take me a minute. And you know what? And that's okay. That's my hang up and that's okay.
And I'm
All right.
that's so funny. Yeah. No, it's a great session. That at
Yeah.
Central States, I don't know if they still do this, Alan. I guess you can tell us, but Central States used to make you bring your own projector.
Mm-hmm.
And I got he's like, and I got the weekends wrong. And so I was driving to both and I was like, all right, I need the projector next week, whatever. Long story short, I show up 20 minutes before my session to watch the dude like rolling the projector out on the cart. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and I like out loud, like, that's weird, wonder where he's going. And this lady in the front row goes, you have to bring your own. And I was like, oh, I know that. Oh my god, and like ran out, like checked my email on my phone. This is like 7 8 years ago, like early, whatever, I like phone email, and I was like, oh my god, this is not the one. And so I had to pay like an insane fee. It was like $200 to rent a projector. And I was like, take my money, put on the emergency credit card, like explained it to
Right.
my husband later. I was,
Right.
you do what you need to do, buddy. And then the
Right.
guy that brought it in, I was like, ah, cool. So he brought it in. He was like, sorry, we're late on your projector. Because I was like sweating,
I bet. I
like
bet.
dying. Yeah, no, that's the worst feeling when you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's happening. Like, and people
Yeah.
coming in,
Yeah.
whatever. I had never been, so I was like, oh,
Man,
this will be
how about I had copies for 30 people because I'm used to only 30 people coming to see me. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. Oh my God.
okay.
Oh.
Can you share a sheet of paper? I'll split it into
I was like, are y'all sure y'all are here for me?
right. Is everybody in the right session? Like the first day of school, and there's 50 kids in your first period. Are we? What are we doing?
Oh Lord. Nah, but oh, Clarissa Adams, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
I
you
remember
so.
Clifton. You
But
were
I
at
tell
front
you,
because I was in the back.
it was one of those things that I had to keep doing, and I'm gonna have to keep doing it until I stop being scared of doing it.
That's
You
it.
know, because
That's it.
I'm still afraid. I am
Yeah.
still afraid,
Yeah.
and It is what it is. So I don't care how old I am. You know how they say, if your dream isn't big enough, then no, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Isn't that
Oh,
what they say?
absolutely. Yeah,
You want to hear
absolutely.
mine? So I'm gonna tell you mine. I got my master's degree from USAL. That's the University of Salamanca, right? So they have this place called the Paraninfo,
Mm,
and it is beautiful room, and they only have the dopest presentations there, and the most she bomb folks go there, right? And so I'm telling you, I'm speaking it into existence. I am going to be a guest at the Paraninfo, right? And I am going to present to a whole bunch of Spanish teachers in their country. And
thank you.
and it's
Mm,
happening.
and it's happening.
I don't know
You're
how
doing
old I'll be. I don't know how old. Thank you,
it.
thank you. I don't know how old I'll be, but I'm telling you
That's
that's going
going
to
on.
happen.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, that's such a
that's
great,
my
oh,
dream.
so
And
good.
it's enormous because look at me, I'm like still scared and crying and peeing my pants just because I got to do APFL, right?
Oh,
So imagine me at the Paraninfo. That's gonna be something else. But
that man will be like, "Are you lady? Are you? ¿Estás bien?" You're like,
girl, I'm
"No,
gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be
I
their distinguished guest.
love
And you
that."
know what else? Uh, At the end of my talk, I'm gonna have a receiving line, and people are gonna wait in line to shake my hand.
Darn right. Absolutely. Boom.
And I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be so happy, and I'm gonna say, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it.
Absolutely. And just be totally present for it. Where you're like,
Yes, yes, yes.
like I have to, I can't just want to want something. I actually need to want it. I want it to happen. I want to be in that moment. I want to soak it in. All of it. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, Chella. Oh my God.
Yes. Chella's
I
taking
love,
pictures. Kelly's gonna
yes.
put the line in order. They'll be like, lady, we have people. Not the right people. Yes.
Oh,
Oh, I love it. Regina, thank you so much. I owe you. I'm gonna text you a little something, something here in a sec, but I
okay.
thank you for your time and your energy, and just like exactly like Kelly, like Alicia just said, like your positive energy is truly so infectious, and I'm so thankful for you in our field and in our lives and everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate the
Same.
platform. I appreciate every person that you have invited to have on the Meredith Show. That's what I call it. I tell my peeps, I'm going on
What
the Meredith.
They're like, that show sucks. It needs to be
I'm
canceled.
busy. I'm on the Meredith Show. you know, or I have a colleague. She's on the Meredith Show.
That's so funny.
But that's what I
Sorry,
call.
really
But
busy.
you know, a lot of people wouldn't do what you're doing. A lot of people wouldn't do what you're doing. So I appreciate the efforts that you're doing, and
Please.
I think that you're going to set the fire for other people. Let me tell you a little bit about you just for a minute, because I also believe that you were the one who started in your state, like immersion language conference, meaning all the German teachers have German conferences
Mm.
in German, Italian, Spanish, French. Isn't that right? Didn't you do that?
That is my colleague did. So we did it at our school.
Who's your colleague?
It was all her. Yeah, absolutely. But I
Who's
got
your
to watch,
colleague?
got to watch her.
What's her name?
Nina Hidalgo. She is
Nina
La
Hidalgo.
Profe Hidalgo on Twitter. She's
Nina Hidalgo. Well,
isn't it incredible?
I was personally taken aback. I was so jealous I couldn't go because I wanted to go, and I was like, I'm not a
We'll do
Georgia
it again.
justice
Yeah,
person. You need to so do it again and
absolutely.
and invite me. But
Absolutely.
I want to really encourage my state to do the same. I
Yes.
want to encourage my state to do the same. I think that immersion conferences for language teachers, especially for those who feel like they're in a rut and I can't get past the present or the imperfect preterite. Oh, I just need I need
Mhm.
a charla, a taller, a
Right.
something. And
Right.
I think I think if they had those regularly, it would help
Mhm.
loosen them up, build confidence. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
I think that's the thing. I think you're exactly right, because so many like Nina, she's at La Profe Hidalgo. Nina having started those, that kind of, I guess it's kind of like in our, she started in our school, but then it went on to the district. Her kind of creating that space has also opened up conversations about alignment between the levels that we were not having before, because colleagues among colleagues, how often do you not hear your colleagues speak the target language? And so you're going, yeah, I think April's Spanish is pretty good. Well, I think
Mhm.
Joe's Spanish is pretty good. Like Regina, and it's all
Yeah.
these kind of like, I think, or you hear them in their class, but
And
not.
people get scared. You
Mm,
know what I mean?
yep,
Because
absolutely.
Meredith has been known to talk mess on a colleague here and there, so
Right,
I'm going to watch
right,
what I say around her,
right,
or
right.
and I
Absolutely.
think and that goes back to teachers really supporting each other,
Hmm.
understanding that we together collectively are perpetual students,
Yep,
and
absolutely.
that we don't exist to put each other down. We exist to support, love on each other, and to build each other up
Yep.
and to give you that support. You know what I used to do? So when I first started working at Poly, this is true. Carlos Rodriguez was the Spanish teacher. He taught right next door, and he taught Spanish 3. I was not ready to teach Spanish 3. There was no chance. I would sit at that man's door because I was too embarrassed to go inside. I
Yep.
would sit at his door and listen and take notes. He caught me, right? And then just started giving me the homework, right? So I would do his homework
Hmm.
and he would correct me and he'd be like, this is fine, tighten up here. This is okay. You could do better there. And I had no choice because he humbled me.
Right.
But, honestly, when you open your mouth, you tend to humble yourself sometimes, depending on where you fall, right? And so I had no choice. I personally, and this is just me personally, want to live up to my potential.
Mm,
My potential is higher than what I produce right now. And it's definitely
absolutely.
come along as time goes on. But that's only because I recognize my weakness and I'm not too
Right.
ashamed or afraid to say, help me, please.
Mm,
You keep
absolutely.
saying, you keep saying low and lie and lay, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I just call them the lows and the laws.
Right.
Where do they
Right.
go in a sentence?
They're here.
And he was like, so he helped me. He helped me, and then I forced myself to prepare, work, practice, and immerse myself, especially when in your household you're the only one who speaks your target language.
Right.
Baby,
Right.
I wasn't really getting that kind of support. You
Mm-mm.
know what I mean?
Oh,
So I had to do what I had to do. I went to church anyway, so I was like, two birds, one stone. Let me go find a service that is in my language. Let
absolutely.
me go read every periodical that I can put my hands in.
Mhm.
Let me go. I haven't had chorizo since I left California. I was raised as a child in Linwood, California. I left in 1992. Let me go buy a pound of chorizo. Let me go buy some fresh conchas,
Mm,
right? And let me go interact with people.
right.
Then I made myself, I started teaching CCD. You know what that
Mm.
is? That's
Oh, yeah,
Sunday
yeah, yeah.
school for
Yeah.
Catholic kids.
Yeah, yeah. Wednesday.
hmm
Woo woo.
hmm I started being a lector, which
Mm.
forced me to read from the Holy Bible,
Oh my
pero en
God.
español.
It's had it. Oh,
Nothing was scarier, man. Nothing was scarier. And then when I
literally
would
in
go to
front of
their
God
meetings,
and everybody.
yes, I'm holding everybody's hand and they're like, Gina, you really lead the prayer. And I'm like, oh God.
Right. No me toca a me. Turns into a
You
game
know,
in the classroom. Te toca
so
a ti. They're like,
I mean, all of the things that our students experience, the shame, the
100%.
fear, the sadness, I was cloaked in it. And I mean,
Yeah.
for years, because I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in Spanish, but was barely functional as novice, high, maybe that's
Yeah.
generous. But I sounded really good.
Hmm.
I could fool you. I could fool you now. But I didn't put that effort into being great,
Yeah.
being proficient in the language that I was hired to teach. And I
Mm.
was tired of that mess. I
Yeah.
was tired of students who were proficient coming to my class and then learning nothing from me.
Right.
And so it only happened a few times. Then can you imagine your student sitting at dinner, and the mommy saying, "Well, what did you learn in class?"
Mm.
What can that lady teach me? Nothing.
Right.
I suffered that shame already. I
Mm.
really did. And there are times where I still make mistakes because I'm human and I know that I'm not that girl that I was. And I know that the effort and the fight that I've put up to make sure that I've developed in the person who I am now, because I was dedicated and determined to make sure that I don't care who you are. If you come through me, I promise you, you will be fed. I will give you something. And if that means I have to bust my behind and work on me so that I can give you the best quality product, so be it. So be
I
it.
think that's the power though. It's like you were saying earlier about research, right? Like
Mhm.
researching and do your part and going, how much am I really engaging with people in the target language? How much am I, like you said, I go to mass, I go to whatever. Why am I not engaging in my community in this way? Why
Right.
am I not kind of the things you do as a learner sometimes that are exciting and feel kind of dangerous? Why do we not continue those as teachers
Hmm.
necessarily? Not
Right.
even just traveling or study abroad where we're there, but in our own communities, in our own. I think that's an incredibly powerful.
Most of it, I think, comes from two places. One, either you don't want to,
Yep.
or two, you want to and you're afraid of judgment from your peers.
Absolutely.
And so
Yep.
that's where we have to create really
Yep.
great spaces where people who, like me at ADFL,
Hmm.
who will stand up there, say what's on my mind and on my heart with my fears, with my heart pumping and the little pea in my pants. It is what it is.
And a great
But I
deodorant.
did it.
Yeah.
But I did
Woo,
it.
absolutely. Well, that's what that when Nina was organizing Hablemos, she's like,
God, you're still
"Will
recording,
you be the
Meredith.
session?" I was like, "No, no, I won't." Like, are you? And then I ended up doing it, and I was like, "Man, like, there's something to this because, like you said, it's a new layer of vulnerability, just like the students, like, just like where you're like, man, I got to give a presentation, like, I have to talk to these people." And then we did them again this year, and we did it recorded, and I was like, "Damn!" And now they're gonna be able to like pause and hear every mistake, like, well, she should have said Ubiera, but
Yeah,
she like,
yeah.
oh,
But
so
but you know
terrifying.
what, Mama? But if mistakes are part of it.
Yeah,
Mistakes. If that's what
absolutely.
we tell the kids, then we have to believe it ourselves. And
Absolutely.
how many people are there's 16 of us on this call right now. How many of y'all made mistakes today? I made about 5. How
Right.
about y'all? It
Yeah.
is what it is, and it's part of the process. We have to be willing to make those mistakes,
Mm.
and also we have to be willing to accept the
Yep.
correction
Yep.
from colleagues and students. When I tell y'all, I have a red, I don't, this isn't it, but I have a red notebook. You know what it's for? It's for every time I say something wrong or do something wrong, my kids already know what it is. If they don't want to say it out loud, they put it in the book. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And I have amazing students who love me so much that they don't want to see me go out like that, if you understand what I mean.
Yep.
So they hold me down. Profe, you said this, and I think you meant this.
Mhm.
I made up so many words, but it's to the point where I'm like, if Shakespeare can invent 1,000,
Right.
I can invent a couple,
Then by God, right?
right? Right?
Said it. You understood it. It's a
But I humbly, I'm grateful for all of the
yeah.
corrections that I get from my students because it helps me grow. It makes me stronger. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I think a lot of the
Mhm.
things we complain about, and not even complain, but a lot of times complain, right? Teachers love to complain. A lot of the things that we like to complain about or just perpetually find to be an issue. And I again think of alignment between the levels. How many times do they get to, I'm just going to use Joe because he's the face I can see. How many times do they get to level 3 with Joe and they go, oh, we didn't speak any Spanish with Miss White in level 2. We didn't do, kids do us dirty all the time. They
Yeah,
lie. They're like,
yeah.
you know, Remy, no, she didn't do anything. We never hurt. And you're like, she's right next door. We share lesson plans. I know you did.
Hmm.
I've actually, it
But
wasn't until we observed each other very regularly
that's what
that,
it is.
that,
That's
that
what it
all of a
is.
sudden we were like, first of all, these kids lie because they all do.
Yeah.
Second of all, I didn't even know that my colleague used as one example. I don't even know if she knows she does it. And she's the one I was mentioning earlier. She's fabulous, Adrian, fabulous. But she sort of
Mhm.
unconsciously or consciously, she teaches 3 and up, 3, 4, 5 and AP, says, me entienden, me entienden, todos me entienden,
Mhm.
like all the time, just as a quick
Yeah.
check-in to like figure
Yeah.
out, do you understand me? And I realized that in level 1 and 2, we're making such an effort to be comprehensible that we almost do it to a fault sometimes because we go, me comprenden a mí, and we never used entender at the time. And so even just sitting out, hanging out in her classroom, it's like the first 2 days of level 3, kids are already like, you know, because they're in level 3 and they're waiting for it to be
Sure.
impossible, even though it's not. And she's going, me entienden? Me entienden? And they literally can't understand the words, do you understand me? And so kids
Right.
are going, is that Spanish? What? What is she saying? What? You know how they do, like to each other. And then
Sure.
she's like, wait a minute, what's the problem? Like, what are we, what? And then it's like this whole thing.
I
Kids
bet you it
totally
sounds like from hearing you talk about your colleague, it sounds like it won't be long before those kids are rocking with her.
Oh, 100%. And they rock with her so right away. And so what I told the level 1 and 2, this like 3 years ago, level 1 and 2 team, I was like, yo, we got to get in these classrooms because if they're
Right.
using little verbiage things that we can incorporate, we need to align. We're already very aligned, but that's
Right.
not enough. We need to align even more because that's going to, you know, kind of scratch their backs a little bit and help us out. And now everything's going to be smooth sailing, at least as much as it can, you know, whatever,
Right.
like in
Right.
what we do, because they love her. She's incredible. They love the 1 and 2 teachers. They're fantastic. Like this shouldn't be this weird divide. And yet little things like that. So we started checking out each other's classrooms a couple times a week, PD and Spanish, whatever. And suddenly now you walk through our hall 3-ish, 3/4 years later, and it's like, hola, ¿qué tal? Oh, iba a decirte, algo pasó, you know, whatever. And colleagues just with each other are like, boop, 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 boop,
And that
in
is
whatever
so
target language.
important.
Colleagues
That
are
is
walking
so
by like,
important.
what the hell's going on up here? And it's like, well, learn a language, you'd know. And then, you know, we all kind of do our thing. And it's a really, really nice kind of beautiful thing that we can share because the armor is gone
Right.
for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And in a large department, I think that's you know, that's important. So one of those things we can do that really wasn't work. It was just like you said, effort. You gotta want it.
You know it.
Gotta
You
want to
absolutely know it.
do it.
Let me ask you, Meredith, are you saving everything that's in the chat? Because I haven't been
Oh
able to
yeah,
see like half of what's up in
yeah.
there. And I
Okay.
feel bad because if they said, I'm sure everyone is saying great stuff, but I hadn't been able to
Yeah.
like see your
I can
response.
send you the chat file, and then I'll also put all the links shared and anything else. If you have like those slides in a PDF or something shareable, like your recommendations,
Or can
would
I
be
just share
super
it with you
popular.
and then you give it to everybody? Is that
No,
cool with you?
done.
Okay, and
Okay.
please, before you leave, reach out to me if
Hmm.
you want, and I'll give you anything that you ask of me.
I'm gonna put in your Twitter. Oops, la profe hermosa. Did I do that right? Yay. Yeah, beautiful. That'd be awesome. Yay. Well, again, you know, I already think you're the bomb. So
Thank
hopefully,
you for
hopefully if
thinking of
nobody
me.
was
No, I
familiar, you
appreciate
know,
it. Thank you for
please.
thinking of me.
Absolutely.
I hope to work with you again.
Yes.
And I do love all of the stuff that you're doing too,
I
and I appreciate the passion that you bring to
absolutely.
all of the stuff that you share.
Thank
You're very, very comfortable. You're very high, high energy, sister.
you. Woo, let's go.
Sometimes I think you've had a couple of Red Bull before before you get in front of a camera. I'm like, Meredith,
Great. Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah, no, I'm
girl, she's high.
excited. Let's go. I mean, you know, getting excited about what we do, I think is sometimes the hardest part. Um, and you know, if kids can't see, if the people around us don't feel like
Yes,
we were talking about earlier, the purpose and the energy, it can be easy to be in that category. Okay, workers gonna work, lazies are gonna laze. And so it's like, which one are you gonna be? And you got to choose that. It's like a marriage. You got to choose that every day. You got to choose that thing you've got to be. And especially this year,
but you know what though? But if it's what you're supposed to do, there's no choice to be made.
right?
Because
Right.
I can't be anybody else but this. I can't do anything else but this.
Yep.
This is my personal legend. You know what
Right.
I mean? It
Right.
really is.
Yep. Absolutely. And this is for me. You know, this is I've been placed here. This is what I'm supposed
Yep.
to be doing.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
all of us together. All of us together.
Oof. Okay, well, I got a lot to think about now. Yay. I know April's like,
Please
yes.
find me. Please find me, y'all.
Yay. All right. Super appreciate you. And happy Tuesday and all the things. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Easy job.